All history is false. History is written by the victor. Before the Muslim invaders succeeded in capturing parts of India, they were thrown back so many times. Nowhere is it taught. Alexander did not succeed in India. That Greek Seleucus, if he had succeeded in India, we would have had Greek something, some town. But they say Alexander the Great. Porus का कहीं नाम नहीं है. Congress had already set the Bisag. 1991 to 1996 under P.V. Narasimha Rao, the Places of Worship Act. The Places of Worship Act was enacted silently. It was never in the news. They are seriously debilitating acts. They are criminal acts. The Wakf Board Act. Modi ji is the role model for Trump. Trump came to power and he became the first sitting US president to not get re-elected. After watching the Make in India drive, he realized America is not making anything. There's an Article 356 in India's constitution. About 50 years, Nehru-Gandhi family has produced the prime ministers for India. 41 times Article 356 has been used to remove elected governments. Rajiv Gandhi came to power in 86. Rajiv Gandhi dismissed 4 state governments of BJP. So तानाशाही ये है. Modi ji has been in power for now 11 years. He has not dismissed a single state government.
Namaste. My name is Neena Rai and I am the author of the books Amazing Ayodhya and Adbhut Ayodhya. Today on the power table we have with us Colonel Shailendra Sharma. Colonel Shailendra Sharma, apart from being in the army and flying for civil aviation, has been a prolific writer, writing for periodicals, writing for articles, and even attempting writing for Wikipedia. He is also a defense expert. So, welcome, Colonel Sharma.
Thank you, Neena ji. That was a very nice introduction, but personally, I am a little chary of being called an expert, especially a defense expert. Because defense, as you know, is a very, very vast and a very complex field.
Correct.
And it encompasses not just military, it encompasses economy, it encompasses international relations, it encompasses logistics, and pretty much every facet of human endeavor is involved in security and safety. I don't think anybody is a defense expert.
So, in that way, nobody can ever be called an expert.
Yes,
If going by
yes.
your standards of what expertise should be, then
Yeah.
I don't think so anybody is fit to be
Should
called an expert.
this is my personal view
Yeah,
that
sure.
it is
Yeah.
it is too vast a subject for anybody to be an expert in.
Okay.
People can be expert in certain facets of it.
Certain, of course, of course. How do you differentiate between indoctrination, influence, and I've told you, I've explained, persuasion is not.
I think when I was trying to distinguish between indoctrination and knowledge, I was trying to say that it is easy for a mind to accept what it is told. It is a human nature.
Yeah.
Okay. And when we read something, we tend to believe that this is correct. So when we read a book or when we read a newspaper, it once we have read it, we think it is our knowledge. It is ours, our opinion. Okay. And indoctrination is being done exploiting this sentiment. Okay. On every issue of India, let's say, any issue, you will find articles written in New York Times and Washington Post
Yeah. What do
and
they
London
have?
Times.
Yeah. What do they have to do
What
with
do
us?
they have to do with it?
Correct.
But what they have to do is that there is a huge population who reads those articles. And in India, it is fashionable to, quote. They see BBC, they'll see, Voice of America and things like that. And what they are saying is considered correct and therefore they are getting indoctrinated. So when somebody raises in any panel discussion, let's say,
Correct.
somebody says something,
Yeah.
they'll say, no, Washington Post is saying like this. How dare you say this? New York Times is saying this.
And I always notice that quoting a Western article is more authentic than quoting an Indian article
I
or
have
an
written a
opinion.
whole article on slavery.
Yeah, I know. I
Mental
was going to
slavery.
tell you about that mental slavery, because this is a kind of mental slavery. And
Yeah.
in your articles, you've actually written India's mental slavery is willfully embraced. That's a very bold statement, but
Yes.
I think I kind of
We are
concur with
very
it.
proud of our
Yeah,
slavery.
slavery. Yeah,
Yes.
it's
But
it's
I don't blame some of the so-called brown sahibs. I blame myself. I blame virtually everybody. Our psyche. I'm from a generation, where uh, pride in anything which is foreign, foreign, PHOREN.
foreign.
We have to have that thing in awe. It's very good. Quality is good just because it's from foreign. If it is Indian, it is desi, and we are Kalus. Okay, with this indoctrination I have been brought up,
Yeah.
and my generation.
Yeah.
Okay, some of it has been rubbed onto perhaps your generation, very small quantity, but yes. But your next
Sorry.
generation is.
It's going to be bad. I'll tell you something. I'm one of those in my generation. I am the black sheep.
Yes.
Because
The
after
white sheep, I'll call you.
the white sheep, okay.
Yeah.
Because I was one of those
From your
convented.
book and your subject, I already treated you as you're not from that generation. You're not from my generation. You're
I'm the
from
odd
some.
one out.
Yes.
In fact, it is very funny that I listen to Hindi music. I'm fluent in English, obviously fluent in spoken Hindi. I've written both my books myself in English. They're kept here. Adbhuta Ayodhya is
Yeah,
written
yeah,
by
I've read this book.
yeah. So Adbhuta Ayodhya is written by me in Hindi.
Yes, yes.
Of course, I have a Sanskrit, Guruji who tells me, and he explains the concepts to me. Um, when I listen to Hindi music, when I'm with my age group of friends, when I listen to Hindi music, my music mostly is Hindi.
Yeah.
So they're like, their reaction to it, what's wrong with you, Neena?
I know.
What kind of music do you listen to?
Oh, I know.
And I said, what kind of music do you want to listen to? And then they'll go and start listening to some Ghisa Pita 1980s song, which I just
I
don't
know.
get why. Just because it's English, or what is the problem with it? I have not understood. People used to find it very funny. Why would I waste my time studying Sanskrit? What would I get out of it? And why would I waste my time writing on Ayodhya? And the question was, you could do so much better.
You have done much, much better. This is what, see, a very remarkable piece of information I'll give you.
Okay.
The British
Yeah.
came to India
Yeah.
somewhere in the 17th century. Okay, their first, I think Sir Thomas Roe came to Cochin or Kerala somewhere in 1640 or so, somewhere there. I'm very bad with
Yeah, that's okay.
historical
Yeah.
facts.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they were here till they left 1947. All the technical innovation, inventions,
Yeah.
and technical discoveries, okay, have all been done in the world after the British came to India.
Correct. All the discoveries have happened
Everything.
after they have come to our
Apples
country.
started falling
Falling.
on Newton's head,
Yeah. Yeah.
Copernicus started seeing planets.
Yeah.
Okay, so many things happened.
Antarctica got discovered.
Antarctica got discovered.
Continents started getting discovered. Spices started getting discovered. Time, Greenwich Meridian time came about. Fingerprint. By the way, do you know that the person who started doing fingerprinting for criminals in the UK was actually doing it from India?
Exactly. If there is a builder
Yeah.
who names his society as Shakuntala Bhavan, let's say, okay, as opposed to somebody who calls it Buckingham, ठीक है? Now, chances are that Shakuntala Bhavan houses will not get sold. They may be any good, but our mental slavery will draw us to Buckingham. And therefore, in
Yeah.
India,
Yeah.
all condominiums
Huh.
without fail have got Firangi names.
Yeah.
Casa this and all these.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I know. You've written this very interesting thing. No people can be secure if their minds are under foreign occupation, eroding pride in their culture, language, and customs. So, by your estimate, how much do you think the foreign mind virus is afflicting Indian minds?
I think the urban population
Urban population is
is
more.
very, very highly impacted by it. And in the urban population, the metropolises are badly affected. Our culture is virtually removed.
Yeah.
Uh, Children are eating ice cream in place of kulfi. They're eating, hamburger in place of samosa. They like pasta and pizza rather than paratha or something. Their food habits have gone. See, when you see any advertisement in the newspapers, Hindi newspapers, and on Hindi news channels, any ad which comes, it's all written in English. English means it is written in Roman. When British were ruling India, they had to speak in Hindi to the troops and Fauj mein, but they couldn't read Hindi script, Devanagari, so it was written in English.
Correct.
But now it has turned the full circle.
Yeah.
Now Hindi ads,
Is
they
written
come
in the
like,
Roman script.
I'm telling you, in India, English is not considered a language. It is considered a qualification.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And uh, since independence, it has been ensured that, national issues, they don't come up and we remain, sort of slaves. One of the arguments which is put forth is that English is very essential because if we have to learn technological subjects like medicine,
STEM.
engineering, okay, we want to send rockets into space, then we need to learn English. To them, I want to ask that how is China, Japan, Korea, Italy, Israel, France, Germany, all these,
Russians.
Russia, all these countries, they don't speak English.
Yeah.
They abhor it. Okay. And they are the ones who are leading in technology, not England, not Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and USA. In my house, as I dare say, in most Indian houses, you will not find a single thing manufactured in these English-speaking countries. I don't have anything made in USA, anything made in Australia, anything made in New Zealand. What are they talking of technology? All innovations, all modernizations are being done in non-English speaking countries. All manufacturing, quality manufacturing is being done in China, Korea, Japan, and outsourced to non-English speaking countries, Indonesia, Thailand, India, Sri Lanka.
So basically, we are being fooled.
We are being fooled.
We are being
It is not a
fooled.
language which is required for learning anything technological.
Uh-huh. And when it comes to technology, even if we look at our ancient past, we were technologically quite advanced. We
Absolutely.
didn't have English then. Why do we
Absolutely.
require it now?
Yes.
It's very funny, but I guess that we have been poisoned so much. And in your articles, you've written about ignorance and mental slavery. You've also mentioned India's young minds are poisoned from kindergarten onwards with false history and a sense of inferiority. Why do you say that?
See, false history is because, as we all know, all history is false, firstly. It's a thing because history is written by the victor
Yeah.
wherever you go. So it's not just India as a victim. If you read the history of Second World War, Germany will keep complaining, that if you ask a Russian, he thinks the entire world history is wrong, the way it is depicted, because written by the victor.
Correct.
So our history does not say that before the Muslim invaders succeeded in capturing parts of India, they were thrown back so many times.
Yes.
Nowhere is it taught. So our
Yes.
history is wrong.
Yeah.
See, nobody is saying why Islam could not go further east into Burma, Thailand, Vietnam, Laos, because they were spreading everywhere. Why couldn't they go? Because the Ahom dynasty ensured that. That dynasty ruled Assam for I think 700-800 years. And there were any number of attempts because that is their wish that they have to spread Islam everywhere. Nobody says how many times Muhammad Ghori was defeated, how many times Alexander did not succeed in India. That Greek Seleucus, if he had succeeded in India, we would have had Greek something,
Yeah.
some town,
Yeah.
you know.
Not a single town is
Not a
named.
single.
Yeah.
But they say Alexander the Great. Porus का कहीं नाम नहीं है. Okay. So our history is once again, they are also interlinked subjects. Like history is part of indoctrination.
You know, one of the things that I have learned in studying history, because I study ancient history. Ancient history is my favorite subject, especially the Ramayanic era and the prehistoric, what we call prehistory, right?
ancient,
Hindu history. One of the things that I know is that it is only the Hindus who say iti ha as, which means this is how it happened.
Yeah.
Only the Hindus in the whole world pursue truth. Other histories are propaganda,
Yes.
and they will twist it to suit themselves, whether it is teaching the unnecessary Mughal history, because there are so many dynasties that have done so well, from the Cholas to Ahoms to you name it.
Actually, Mughal history would form a very small chapter of our history.
And yet we have devoted books on it, right? So I'm very surprised that these things, they just don't get any better. What do you think? Is it going to get any better for people?
It will. See, what happens is that cometh the hour, cometh the man.
Okay.
हमेशा मतलब कि what there's that Gita का श्लोक also ना that God will come when the need arises,
यदा यदा
No,
हि
I'm not trying to
धर्मस्य ग्लानिर्भवति
yeah,
भारतः
bhavata.
अभ्युत्थानमधर्मस्य
That's
तदात्मानं सृजाम्यहम्.
yes,
That's the
all
famous
that.
one.
So,
Huh.
well, Modi ji is no God,
Yeah.
not that, but
Yeah.
if he had not come to power in 2014, I shudder to think what would have happened to our country.
Yes.
कोई भी चेस में मात देते ना टू चेकमेट ए पर्सन, उसके पहले जैसे हिंदी में बिसात बिछानी पड़ती है. यू हैव टू सेट अप द थिंग, ओनली देन द ऑपोजिट किंग बिकम्स हेल्पलेस, ही कांट गो एनीवेयर.
Correct.
Congress had already set the bisat.
Oh.
1991 to 1996 under P.V. Narasimha Rao, the Places of Worship Act.
Under P.V. Narasimha Rao.
Yes.
Okay.
The Places of Worship Act was enacted
Okay.
silently.
Yeah.
It was never in the news. Okay. Nobody knew as a, 1991, I was not a child.
Yeah.
I was a pretty grown up and a senior. I was a colonel in the army. We never knew there is such a thing as Places of Worship Act, which has been passed by the parliament. It was all done surreptitiously. Then in the same period, the Wakf Board Act, they are seriously debilitating acts. They are criminal acts that they can say any property is yours, is theirs, and you can't do anything about it.
And they don't even have to declare it.
Yeah, they don't have to give any proof. They all they have to do is say that this is mine. जैसे पुराने ज़माने में बस में चढ़ने के लिए ना भीड़ होता है, you just drop your hanky on the seat, and then say this is mine, then you go आराम से. It's like that. It was done that. And then in 2000 to 2014, these acts were tweaked and embellished to make them even more strong. That means An act was passed in 91 or 92 or something. I don't know when Places of Worship Act was passed. But it had retrospective effect from 1947. That anything which was converted, the status quo will be maintained as it was in 1947. Okay.
It was very sinister.
Very sinister, very, so they had done, and in case Congress had come back to power in 2014, we would have been, absolutely second grade citizens in this country.
We already are second grade citizens in this country.
Sort of. But I think the tide is turning,
yeah.
and the tide is so strong now that the world is taking note. See, as luck would have it, Trump came to power.
Correct.
Not now, I'm talking of his first tenure.
Correct.
When he came to power, the first tenure, he realized the threat of Islam. Okay.
He openly talks about it.
And his first act as becoming president of the USA was to ban entry of Muslims into USA, which united all the Muslim countries against him, and he became the first sitting US president to not get re-elected. Okay, because elections nowadays are not national affairs, they are international affairs. Okay, there are powers, vested powers, who are interested in ensuring that a puppet is there, or a like-minded, if not a puppet person, his concept of making India, making America great again, MAGA, has been derived from Bharat, make in India.
Make in India.
Okay. So,
and he made a comment once about Modi ji. He says this man has never lost an election. He has been somewhat of a gift to all of India. I mean, the way COVID was handled.
Of course.
And so what do you have to say about that? Like, what would you?
See, the thing is that there are two terms which are generally used for him. One, they say he's a Tanasha.
Fascist.
He's a fascist.
Yeah.
Firstly, what is a Tanasha? Tanasha is a negative term associated with people in power who do things for themselves. Okay, when a person who is in power, he does good for others, he is not called a Tanasha. Nobody calls him a Tanasha. Okay, he's called a statesman in English, but what unilateral action has Modi ji taken that will benefit him?
Yeah.
He has no family, he is a sadhu sort of. he has said so in parliament. हमारे यहाँ क्या है, अगर हम सत्ता में नहीं रहेंगे तो हम अपना झोला लेके चले जाएंगे. And he actually will do that. Okay. So firstly, he doesn't qualify for the term because he is not doing anything for himself or for his dynasty. No personal gain, no dynasty, nothing. He is taking harsh decisions, which are harsh for the people who are getting adversely affected.
But
he wants to do the right things.
That is the role of a leader. Exactly. The CEO, the director, the CMD of the company, the lady of the house. I'm comparing, because all of them have the responsibility for taking harsh decisions. If they don't do it,
exactly,
then things
That's
are
the purpose of
yeah,
his existence there.
Yes.
See, when they call him Tanasha, there's an article 356 in India's constitution. Okay. It empowers the President of India, which is of course on the advice of the government, cabinet, that he can dismiss any state government. Okay. And impose president's rule. He doesn't have to explain the reasons. Okay. Now, out of 75 years of our independence, non-Gandhi family prime ministers must have been for about, say, Modi ji has been for about 11 years, about 6 years of Atal Bihari Vajpayee ji, 11 and 17, and there have been chutmut prime ministers here and there, so maybe say 25. About 50 years, Nehru Gandhi family has produced the prime ministers for India.
Yeah, and they have imposed enough of
41 times
yeah.
Article 356 has been used to remove elected governments when there is no constitutional crisis.
Okay.
Not a single case. Okay. 41 times they have removed, 25 times they have imposed president's rule, and on 13 occasions they have changed the government to Congress by, pressurizing and poaching MLAs and
It's
things.
basically the pot calling the kettle black.
And as we know,
No,
Indira Gandhi was unseated after the emergency, and she lost the. No, she was unseated, therefore there was emergency. But after that, to our bad luck, the replacement government was so horrible that she came back to power with a thumping majority. Indira Gandhi came back to power in January of 1980.
Okay.
Okay. In February 1980, after 1 month, she dismissed 9 state governments
Why did she do that?
just because they were opposition parties in power. They were all duly elected state governments
Because
enjoying
she could.
Bahumat, and that's their right to be in power. 9 state governments, all opposition ruled, were dismissed. And when her son Rajiv Gandhi came to power in 86,
86, yeah.
84 she died, he
Yeah.
came to power in 86. Rajiv Gandhi dismissed 4 state governments of BJP, Rajasthan, UP, and 2 other states, Haryana or one more place. Immediately after Babri Masjid episode.
Because he could.
हाँ, so तानाशाही ये है कि when you want to dismiss, you just dismiss. Just use the power and dismiss. Modi ji has been in power for now 11 years. He has not dismissed a single state government. Though conditions entitling him to do that have been many.
Many. In fact, when you talk of dismissing governments, you have written in one of your articles on Kashmir that when a Congress government or when any of these, so-called pro-Congress governments have been dismissed, it's usually for an agenda. Like you have mentioned about Kashmir and the president's rule in Kashmir in 1991, and that was to make a scapegoat. At that point, who was the prime minister? Was it Rajiv Gandhi or Narasimha Rao?
Narasimha Rao.
Narasimha Rao, okay.
91 to
19, because the exodus happened on 19 January 1990.
So 91 to 96, I think Narasimha Rao was prime minister.
Yeah. Anyways, coming back to what you have said about these governor rules. Remember in Bengal, I have this suspicion that every time there is this force, get governor's rule, whenever there's things going on, I think that they are just sitting tight that you place somebody as a governor. Do you think this is happening and then they're going to unleash another level of violence and genocide? Because the most likely state where there's been pushing of governor's rule has been in Bengal as of now.
We have not had governor's rule in Modi ji's time.
That's what I'm saying, but there has always been push, right? Looking at
So there have been a lot of hue and cry about
putting it
the state government being perceived as a anti-national, sort of agenda.
Correct.
Which we see it as anti-national. The state government does not. And there have been a lot of sort of hue and cry. We should dismiss that government and impose.
And Modi ji has the power to do that.
He has the power to do it.
Yeah.
And there have been occasions where precipitate action could have been taken. But I think Modi ji is the first Prime Minister of India who has also been Chief Minister. Okay. So, nobody knows federal structure more than him. Okay. The Gandhi family has never been. And they are the primary opposition, still struggling to get back to power. But he understands the status of a chief minister. And whether he likes it or not, he does not want to dilute that.
Correct.
Okay. And he believes in democracy. He says, okay, they've been elected for 5 years. You know, unless some major blast takes place, you know, political, he's not going to dismiss any state government. Okay. So instead of he being a Tanashah, you know, Indira Gandhi's election was set aside. And she dismissed
All the
the whole
yeah.
country.
Yeah.
You know, declared emergency and sat down. Put everybody in jail, stopped all newspapers.
Yeah.
That is Tanashah.
Yeah. No, she was quite the Tanasha.
Yeah. And here people are calling him chor hai, chokidar chor hai, wo sapno, khoon ka saudagar hai, and all that. And he's tolerating all that. And you're calling him a Tanasha. If he had been a Tanasha, anybody who calls him that would be, you know, guillotined.
Yeah.
So calling him a
So, you know, apart from him being not a Tanasha and being a bit too patient and lenient with his, you know, enemies, political enemies, I would say, what do you think have been his greatest achievements in public life, or, you know,
See, his biggest achievement, there are two types of achievements. Okay, one is that you can narrate. He has done this, so many crore houses have been made, you know, Jan Dhan Yojana, bank accounts have been opened, water is coming in taps, things like that. All those can be narrated. But there are certain achievements which are difficult to quantify.
Okay.
Not quantify, they impossible to quantify. You know, things like morale. Thing like self-confidence,
self-respect, pride.
These things cannot be counted. Ki, okay, in 2014 it was 1 and now it's become 2 or something. But no quantifiable achievement of any society is possible without first raising the unquantifiable achievements. You see, when India does well anywhere, okay, it is because its morale is high. Any organization whose morale is low cannot achieve anything. You know, 90,000 fully equipped, well-fed soldiers laid down their arms because their morale was down.
Nothing you're talking else. Of 1971?
71, yeah. Okay, the biggest armed surrender by a standing army.
Yeah.
Okay, they had everything. They had weapons, they had ammunition, they had food, everything. They didn't have the will to fight. Their morale was down. Okay, and they surrendered. See, the will to fight is a state of mind.
Okay.
Okay, there are in sports, let's say, we see some very close contests. We recently All England women's final, badminton final, you should see when you go back. Okay, the players are just falling. They are not able to play point. They are so tired. Okay, yet the will to fight is there, and their second last point is for 54 strokes when the players cannot. So there is a thing called will to fight. Okay, and if that will to fight is not there, then people will not fight.
So you think that Modi ji has given us the will to fight?
No, this example which I am giving is of 1971 war. That will to fight was broken perhaps by the military leadership of Field Marshal, then General Manekshaw, and his address to the on the radio, he would tell certain things which totally broke their morale, and they surrendered. But in Modi ji's context, I will say that the morale of the nation has gone up. He is telling children not to be worried about exams. What parents keep pestering them, exam aa raha. He says, yeah, it's important that you should study, but exam is not the be all and end all of life. Okay, the way he is nurturing the youth, Yuva Shakti ke upar, his focus, his tremendous work for women of India, you know, starting from girls.
Beti bachao,
He
beti
is,
padhao.
see, as a prime minister, he has identified what's the problem why women are not able to progress, because they are not able to study. Why they are not able to study? Because they don't have toilets in the school. So when a girl is reaching puberty, she cannot go to school, isn't it? So he has identified that in his first speech from Red Fort. He has said Swachhata and, you know, toilets. Very fundamental. And he basically, what is success? Success is identifying what somebody wants. Okay, but he identified what is required and then he delivered that.
Correct.
Okay. Now what has happened is, as far as Nari Shakti is concerned, he started off, now he is in his 11th year, so a lot of work has already borne fruit. From a beneficiary, a woman, being a beneficiary of government subsidy or concession, or whatever you call. Now he has brought them to a stage where they are benefit giver.
Very nice.
Okay. Now women are being given responsibility. One of the most complex ministries of his cabinet is handled by a woman. Finance ministry is not a joke.
I know.
Okay. And she has handled defense ministry also. And he is giving, you know, all glass ceilings are being broken. You know, women are joining fighting arms. You know, they are flying Rafales, they are flying fighter planes, they are joining ships not as doctors and educationists, but as fighting sailors and officers. So he's done a lot for this thing. So when you start, when your child and when your youth and when your lady in a society starts doing well, everything will multiply. In my perception, I always feel the word sabhyata, no? Civilization, is not possible without a lady.
Of course.
It's not possible.
Yeah, it's like saying the house is run by men.
It's laughable. It's a
ridiculous.
tragic laughter.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like, if I have to call a friend of mine for lunch or dinner at home, if I tell my wife, yeah, so and so is coming, he says, who all are coming? I said, yeah, one man, or he's bringing his friend also, so two people, but they're men, boys. He said, no problem. But if they're coming with wives, then घर का linen change होएगा, घर की सफाई होएगी, toilets will be looked up, kitchen everything will be put spick and
Different
span.
cutlery and crockery will be
Everything.
taken out.
Because a lady is coming, so we have to be sabhy.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Have you ever noticed that whenever there are a bunch of boys, let's say all boys, and there is no girl there, so you would observe a bunch of boys playing, and then you put a girl in amongst them. That girl could be somebody's sister, or that girl could be just any lady. Just watch how they will behave.
Exactly.
Oh, they become good boys after that. From being rowdy boys, you want to change how men behave, just put a girl there. Anyways, you know, one of the most interesting things that when I was talking to you, you spoke of Wikipedia. As a writer, you have attempted to write for Wikipedia. Can you shed some light on what happened with you and what was your experience?
How I got involved with Wikipedia was that when I was preparing for my ALTP exam, as a pilot, it's the airline transport pilot's exam, it's the highest exam. So there's a lot of studies, technical studies we have to do. So when I was doing that, I was not getting enough books, or the books were very expensive, they were not available. So somebody told me, look up these things in Wikipedia, and I found it such a beautiful, such a authentic source of information that if you want to know what is GPS and what is instrument landing system or parts of the aircraft, how they work and all that, everything is given so nicely, and my entire preparation was based on Wikipedia.
So technical information was good.
Technical information, top class. Okay, so any technical subject you want to learn, how a car engine works or how gas turbine works, you can learn there. But during my interaction, referring over there, I tried to see certain things which were non-technical. Like if you dabble in history or culture or politics or economy, something like that, then I found that there's a lot of misinformation, almost amounting to spreading wrong information. And in reference to India, I was shocked that how they are, the use of words, and how they are projecting India. So Wiki means what I know is. Okay, so it's an open platform. Anybody can post information, data, and if he reads something and he wants to correct it or embellish it or edit it, he's allowed to do it. So it's a very multi sort of faceted, because all subjects under the sun are covered in. So I registered myself. You have to register yourself to become an editor. You're not an editor like in a newspaper or something. You are just registered as a person who can edit some information or data. Or something. So I changed certain things because I found when they talk of oldest cities of the world continuously inhabited, I did not find Varanasi.
Ayodhya, Varanasi.
Not listed at all, or listed pretty low. Or the oldest language of the world, then some Sumerian or something is there. Not a single book has been published in that language. Okay, language means not only verbal, that's not a dialect. We have got literature. Yes, Sanskrit should have been right at the top.
And Sumerian
and Tamil.
And is a script. It's a script. It's the cuneiform script, right? Like hieroglyphics, cuneiform.
Yeah.
So they're taking that script and using it as a language.
Yeah. No, even hieroglyphics and cuneiform were only written expressions.
Yeah.
They were not a language.
Okay.
They were not spoken.
Oh,
Hieroglyphics was not spoken.
of course, but so what was spoken? So how do you differentiate?
I don't know what was spoken, because they didn't have alphabet.
Yeah.
So they used something like Chinese characters,
Yeah.
but very elementary in stage. So if they wanted to show a deer, so they will actually draw a deer.
Draw the deer, yes.
If they want to show a man, they will actually draw
Yeah.
and spear or thing like. It was
Even-
like pictorial depiction.
Even in the Indus Valley civilization, we have the
Yeah,
same.
initially that's how language must have started.
Yeah.
Okay, but a language like Sanskrit, which is not only got, it is spoken, it is written. Rig Veda was the oldest written text in the world, and it's got profound grammar, profound vocabulary, and there's no dearth of literature available in it. There's no mention of it. So when I tried to correct it, I made some corrections and I sent. So the correction, when somebody makes it, goes to their system, and they look at it, and everything on mine was rejected.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. And they don't ascribe any reason. And thereafter, whenever I tried to edit something, I got a message that your
Edit is not accepted.
Yeah.
So, talking of rise, with the rise of drone warfare and AI assisted aviation, how do you see the role of manned aircraft evolving in the next decade? And this is something, see, because technology is changing at a rapid scale. It's too fast. So what do you think is the future of warfare?
See, the thing is that warfare is all about using all the means that you have to defeat an enemy. Okay, and all is fair. You can do whatever you feel like. Let me just give a little, like what applies to aviation. I'll give you an example. How it applies to armored corps. Okay. Now, there was First World War, where the opposing forces, they reached a stalemate because the concept of the doctrine of warfare was based on trenches. So people will take up defenses. This army from here to here, they dig trenches and sit down, and they put obstacles, all
Dich kam ban?
anti-personnel, all anti-personnel obstacles, because there were no tanks those days. So mines and barbed wire and things like that. And on the opposing side, that army will also take up defenses, and in between was the no man's land. And troops were waiting for years, so 6 months, 8 months, they were just there. There were more deaths because of winter or something,
Yeah.
than because of weapons. So to overcome this stalemate, somebody came up with the idea of a tank.
Okay.
Okay, so the tank was an armored vehicle with tank track, because wheels can get punctured, and there were wires and all that. So they came with tank tracks, and they had thin armor, because those days weapons were rifles and LMGs and things like that.
Correct.
So to protect the people sitting inside, a thin armor plate was there in this tank. Now what this achieved was that now the trench warfare became redundant, because the tanks could just go over the obstacles. So it became a raging success. Tank.
Because it was that innovation that time.
It was an innovation that time. And it was such a raging success that the entire R&D, military R&D, was focused on negating it. There are measures, countermeasures all the time in every thing. So this tank is a measure, now countermeasure. So they came up with anti-tank weapons. Okay. So initially they came up with mines, which could stop a tank from moving. Then they came up with anti-tank grenades. Then they came up with anti-tank missiles. Then they came up with shoulder-fired missiles. And aircraft also came with anti-tank weapons. So now anti-tank weapons became so many.
Yeah.
Now the tank has become a liability on the battlefield.
Okay.
And this we are talking of the Second World War technology. Now what has happened is, in today's scenario, a tank, when it moves out of, let's say, an Indian tank, it moves out of Babina or Jhansi or some other station in India, its movement out of its garage itself is known to the enemy. Okay, you don't have to put any this thing. Satellite imagery is so accurate. You can read the number plate of the tank. You can perhaps tell who's the commander.
Do all our enemies have that? I mean, China and Pakistan, yes, Bangladesh.
No, you don't have to have it.
We don't have to have
You will be
it.
provided.
Oh, how will we be provided?
No.
From the.
No wars are fought by two nations. They are fought with two blocks.
Okay.
Okay, Ukraine may not have
European.
satellite of its own, but Europe has. USA,
And it had the US block. Now Zelensky has destroyed that block as well.
So wars these days are, somebody will provide that information to you.
Okay.
So tank cannot be hidden. Earlier we used to put camouflage net over it so the Air Force can't see a tank. Today aircraft don't have to use the visual identification. Okay, its radar signature is there. When it moves, the dust is there. And there are so many weapon systems against the tank. Like a study was done in 1980 or 90 or sometime.
1980s.
Yeah,
You mentioned this.
When the helicopter came, anti-tank helicopter, then the tank became absolutely useless.
Yeah, you mentioned that there is a 14:1 kill ratio.
14:1 is the kill ratio. One helicopter will kill 14
tanks
before it's likely to be shot down. Okay. And now,
but how much do we depend on US stats compared to army? Because US army just has
these are not stats.
Okay.
This is the result of a war game.
Okay,
what they do is they feed the capabilities and limitations of weapon systems in the computer, and they put in the terrain and other factors which affect warfare. Okay, and then they allow the computer to decide,
simulate then
see what will be the
outcome of it. Yeah.
So then the computer does this computerized war game, and it says, okay, kill possibility of a tank to helicopter is this much. And helicopter is still a bigger target. You can shoot it down by some means. But now with drones, drones are so small and they're so maneuverable and they're not invisible sort of, and they can be in swarms. Even in early 21st century, I think, I'm very bad with years.
Yeah, that's okay.
We had an MIRV system,
MIRV.
multiple independently targeted re-entry vehicle, MIRV. Now this is an artillery fired shell. You fire a shell, in the sky it bursts, and bomblets come out. Okay, and they have got radio guidance system, and the system is so nice that if there are, say, in a battlefield there are 15 tanks, each bomblet will identify one tank, and then it will go to it. All other bomblets will be jammed for that target. They have to seek another target. So it's independently targeted. So one shell can kill so many. So with this technology, when your tank cannot hide, okay, because it's visible, it cannot maneuver because it will kick up dust and all that. We're spending so much of money on these tanks.
So what should we be spending our money? We should be spending our money on satellites or blocking satellite technology?
No, firstly, I think that it's a matter of time before the thought that I have got that a tank is useless. Other countries will also have, because it is so obvious. It's like in good old days, sword was the weapon of success. But that does not mean we should equip our armies with sword. A horse was the vehicle in good old days, but nobody has cavalry nowadays. So the time of the tank is over. We can use that steel for a lot of other things. We
Okay.
can make more ships, perhaps.
And AI, so AI is going to rule the roost according to you because of all the satellites and all of the. Will it be AI or will it be satellites and that technology watched by humans? Like what will it be?
See, AI, to my understanding, is just removal of the human being. Intelligence is the same. Okay, instead of a human being doing a thing, whether it is, say, driving a car, making a drawing, writing a program, whatever human brain can do, if that is being done by a robot or a cyborg or something artificial, that is artificial intelligence. Its application can be there in any field. Whatever human being is doing, if that is not being done by a human and being done by a machine, that is artificial intelligence.
Okay.
So it applies in all fields of human endeavor,
Okay.
and that is the threat.
Okay.
Okay, because you don't know what is being shown to you
Yeah.
is it true or not true. It's artificially generated.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this podcast somebody can create.
Yeah.
You can create a persona like yours.
Yeah.
A persona. I'm not a persona, so nobody will make me. But they can show you interviewing anybody.
Anybody, yes, that's
Yeah,
true.
and that anybody could be giving any answer.
And they can change whatever I'm saying as well.
Yes, yes.
Anyways, it was absolutely a pleasure talking to you, Colonel
Thank you
Sharma.
so much,
And
Neena.
thank you for being on our show. And thank you for sharing so much knowledge that you have with us.
So thank you so much.
Thank you. Namaste.